Hi and welcome back. Today I'm going to be demonstrating the basic principles of forging springs. So here you have a pretty typical application for a forged spring. This large circular section along the outside is the spring, and it's applying pressure to the two jaws of this trunk lock. Now if you look at it carefully, you'll see that it conforms to all the principles that you need to know about forging springs. First of all, there aren't any sharp changes in direction. All the transitions from one thing to the next are smooth. In this case, it's a perfect circle. And the thickness of the bar remains very constant. There are no sharp edges or sharp shoulders that can create a stress point that would weaken the spring and eventually cause it to fail in use. This is thicker back here, and it's thinner at the tip, but it's a very gradual taper right through the whole cross section. The other thing that you need to consider when you're forging springs is the surface of the spring. Here there aren't any nicks, there aren't any sharp cuts, no surface texture that could cause the spring to fail. So those are the main points that you need to concern yourself with when you're forging your own springs. The first step in making a spring is to rough forge the basic shape. Here I'm recycling the spring steel from a torsion spring that normally holds open a car trunk lid. The initial stages of the forging can be done rather quickly, but as you start to get closer to the final shape of the spring, you really need to slow down and concentrate on your hammer work. You don't want to leave any big grooves or imperfections that are going to be hard to clean up later. Once I'm done the basic shaping, I'll use a couple of heats to try to clean up the forging as much as I can. My anvil face is pretty chewed up, so I install a square block in my hardy hole to give me a smooth surface to work on. To do the final cleanup, I'll take a low heat, I'll stay around the critical temperature, clean off any surface scale, and then I use very light hammer blows to try to refine the surface as much as I can. And then I continue this process for as many heats as I need to clean up the entire forging. Now you're ready to start cleaning up the profile of the spring. At this point, regardless of the shape of the spring, you want to keep your spring perfectly flat. This will make it a lot easier to clean up. It's really easy to sight down a straight piece of steel and check for any irregularities or imperfections, but once you bend it into a curve or whatever its final shape is going to be, it's going to be very hard to clean up. I usually start by cleaning up the side profile. I just clamp it in the vise and file it to the shape that I need. Now that you have the spring down to the right dimension, you need to start working on the two broad surfaces of the spring. I support the spring while I'm filing it by clamping it to a piece of wood that's held in the vise. This supports the entire length of the spring and makes it easy to file a very flat surface. You can see here that even with all the care that I took in forging this piece, there's still a lot of imperfections that need to be filed out. By the time I'm done filing this entire spring, all of the forging scale needs to be gone. So the deeper the impressions, the more filing you need to do to get a clean surface. I usually check the spring several times while I'm filing it to make sure that it's bending in a nice smooth curve. When you're done cleaning up the spring, you can bend it to its final shape and heat treat it. To draw the temper, you need to go over the entire surface of the spring very systematically with a torch until you draw a nice blue color over the entire length of the spring.